Hi, Division 15. It's Miss Lion, and I'm going to continue reading Ghost Town at Sundown. When we left Jack and Annie, they had traveled to Rattlesnake Flats. Well, I think I remember telling you in class that I really don't like spiders. I'm not a big fan of snakes either, but for me, spiders are worse. Anyway, a town called Rattlesnake Flats. There's going to be some snakes around. Anyway, they saw some cowboys who had horses, and they hid from them. And at the end, they heard a piano playing some music. So, yeah, here we are. Chapter 4. It's called Hands Up. "It's the colt," said Annie. "He's looking for his mother." She ran towards the wide-eyed little horse. "Wait," said Jack. "Oh, brother." He pulled the book out of his backpack, and he found a chapter titled Horses of the Wild West. And he started to read. At the end of the 1800s, over 1,000,000 wild horses, called mustangs, wandered the West. These tough, fast horses were descendants of runaway Spanish horses. Mustang herders captured them and sold them to ranchers. Breaking a wild Mustang must have taken great skill. Jack turned the page. There was a picture of a herd of horses. 2 of them even looked like the beautiful mare in her coat. "Hey, Annie," said Jack, "you should see this picture right here." But Annie didn't answer. Jack looked up, and Annie was trying to get closer to the young Mustang, but the horse kept darting away. "Watch it, he's wild," said Jack. Annie was speaking softly to the colt. She slowly reached out and grabbed the end of the rope, still talking to him. She led him to a broad wooden post. "Stop! Don't do anything," said Jack. He flipped through the pages of his book, and he found a section called How to Treat a Horse. The basic rules on how to treat a horse are simple: a soft hand, a firm voice, a sunny attitude, praise, and reward. "I've got the rules," said Jack. "Don't do anything before I write them all down." Jack pulled out his notebook and his pencil, and he wrote, "Horse rules. Number 1, a soft hand. Number 2, a firm voice. Number 3, sunny attitude. 4, praise. 5, reward." "Okay, listen," said Jack, finally looking up, but Annie was already sitting on the colt's back, and Jack froze and held his breath. The Mustang was whinnying and pawing the ground. He snorted and tossed his head back. Annie kept patting his neck and talking softly, and finally the young horse grew still. Annie smiled at Jack. "I named him Sunset," she said. Jack let out a deep breath. "Let's go," said Annie. "We've got to take him to his mom." "Are you nuts?" said Jack. "We have to solve this riddle, and it's going to be dark soon, and those guys are really bad guys. I could tell." "We don't have any choice," said Annie. "Oh, brother," said Jack. He knew she wouldn't change her mind. "Well, let's see what the book says." So he read more about mustangs. Wild mustangs live together in families. They bond between a mare and her son is very strong. His sound of distress or hunger will always bring him to her. A mustang cannot bear to wander alone. Jack groaned. He looked at Sunset. The young mustang did have the saddest look he could see in his eyes. "Okay, well, we'll make a plan," he said. But first, I have to get out of these boots." Jack grabbed one of the boots and began to pull. "Hurry," said Annie. "I can't even think in these things, they hurt so much." Then he huffed and he puffed and he pulled, and then a deep voice stopped him cold. "Hands up, or I'll shoot." Jack let go of the boot, raised his hand slowly in the air, and so did Annie. A cowboy rode out of an alley. His face was bony and tanned. He was riding a gray horse and pointing a 6-shooter. "I reckon you're the smallest horse thieves I've ever come across," he said. Chapter 5 is called Slim, S-L-I-M, meaning very thin. Here's our first picture. "We're not horse thieves," said Annie. Well then, what are you doing with my horse there? He said. Well, some bad guys came through town with his mother, said Annie, and they left him behind because he was too slow. Yep, them must be the rustlers that stole my 5 Mustangs, said the cowboy. Who are you? Said Jack. I'm a Mustang herder, said the cowboy. They rode through town, and then Sunset showed up all alone, said Annie. We're taking him to his mother. Sunset? Said the cowboy. Yep, I named him. The cowboy put away his 6-shooter. Well, you're pretty brave to try and rescue him, Smiley, he said. Thank you, said Annie. Jack cleared his throat. A Mustang needs his family, he said. The bond between the mare and her young is very strong. The cowboy looked directly at Jack. Well, whoa, you're a pretty smart one, aren't you, Shorty? Shorty? Said Jack. Every cowpoke's got to have a nickname, said Cowboy. What's your nickname? Said Annie. Slim, said the cowboy. My name is Slim Cooley, and this here is Dusty, patting on his horse. Well, that fits, said Annie. Jack agreed. Slim was very slim, and Dusty the horse was very dusty. So tell me, said Slim, how do you two brave, smart young'uns end up here in Rattlesnake Flats? Jack caught his breath. He didn't really know how he could explain it to the man. A stagecoach, he said. Oh, said Annie. We begged the driver to let us off, but I think we made a mistake. Slim looked around. Well, I'd say you did make a mistake, he said. When the stagecoach comes through, we're going to leave again, said Annie. I see, said Slim. Well, I'm going to take my colt now and find those rustlers. You didn't hear where they were headed, did you? They said they were going to camp over the rise, said Jack. Must be over yonder, said Slim. He looked at the low rise in the distance, and the sun was a red ball above it. Well, I better get going before dark, he said. Can we go with you? Said Annie. No, we have to stay here, said Jack quickly. Now that Slim could help Sunset, Jack wanted to look for the answer to the riddle. Plus, he wanted to take off those boots. Shorty's right to be scared, said Slim. This ain't no job for you young'uns. Scared? Said Jack. Oh, please, I just want to go, said Annie. Slim looked at Jack. Well, what do you want to do, Shorty? Well, for starters, he thought, he wanted Slim to stop calling him Shorty, and he wanted Slim to think he was brave. Sure, I want to go, said Jack. Well, what about your stagecoach? Said Slim. Oh, it's not coming until tomorrow, said Annie quickly. Well, Slim scratched his chin, I reckon I could use some brave, smart help. But you have to do everything I say, you hear? We will, said Annie. And can I ride Sunset? Well, I wouldn't have said yes to many kids, Smiley, but you seem to have a knack with horses, said Slim. Now hang on tight to his mare. To his mane. And I'll pull him along behind. Slim slipped a rope over the post, and then he held his hand out to Jack. Put your foot in the stirrup, Shorty, and grab my hand, said Slim. Jack did as Slim said, and Slim pulled him onto the front of the saddle. Jack held onto the saddle horn. Sit tight, said Slim. It's not far. Slim snapped the reins, and Dusty took off, with Sunset riding behind. Jack was bouncing up and down, and his boots still hurt. The sunlight blinded him. Giddy up, Slim. Giddy up, said Annie. The horses galloped across the prairie, dust flying from their hooves. Achoo, said Jack, sneezing as he bounced along in the setting sun. Here's a picture of Slim and Jack. Chapter 6. Split the Wind. The sky was dark by the time they got to the rise, and the wind was cool, almost cold. Whoa, said Slim. Dusty slowed to a halt. They're camped down there, Slim said in a low voice, in that patch of trees. Jack could see a campfire at the bottom of the slope, and he saw the horses gathering in a dark clump. One let out a whinnying sound. Hear that, said Slim. That's the mare. He senses that Sunset, her horse, is nearby. The mare whinnied again. Sounds like she's tied to a tree, said Slim. I think the rest of the herd are loose. So what's our plan? Said Jack. Smiley, you stay here and you guard Sunset, said Slim. Right, said Annie. Shorty, you and I are going to ride down near their camp, said Slim. You keep Dusty quiet while I cut the mare loose. How do you keep a horse quiet? Wondered Jack. Once the mare's loose, she's going to break for Sunset, said Slim. Then you and Sunset take off. Okay, Smiley? Got it, said Annie. Then we'll split like the wind, said Slim. What does that mean? Thought Jack. Well, till we get to Blue Canyon, said Slim. Where's that? Wondered Jack. All set? Any questions? Asked Slim. Nope, said Annie cheerfully. Yeah, thought Jack in his head. About 1,000,000. Okay, partners. See you soon, Smiley. Come on, Shorty. Have fun, said Annie. Fun, thought Jack. Is she nuts? Our lives are at stake here. Slim snapped his reins, and Dusty started down the rise. Their way was lit by a nearby full moon and millions of stars in the sky. Maybe now I can ask Slim some of those questions, thought Jack. But just then voices came from the rustlers' camp. They were mean voices, followed by mean laughter, and a chill went all the way down Jack's back. This is far enough, whispered Slim, slipping off of Dusty. See, you keep Dusty here, whispered Slim to Jack, and keep him quiet. Well, wait, said Jack. He needed more information. But Slim was already gone. So Jack gripped the reins and held his breath. He hoped that Dusty, the horse, didn't do anything. But for a moment, Dusty was still. But then he began to snort and walk around. Oh no, thought Jack. He tried to think of the rules of how to treat a horse, and he remembered. Soft hand, firm horse. So he gently patted Dusty softly. Whoa, he said firmly to his surprise, and Dusty froze. Jack remembered another rule. Have a sunny attitude. He patted Dusty again. Don't worry, he whispered. Everything's going to be fine. And just then, a loud whinny came from a herd of mustangs, and they began moving up and down the moonlit slope. Hey, the horses, yelled the rustler. And a gun went off, and Jack ducked. Come on, Shorty, came Slim's voice. Jack looked up. Slim was riding the mare. Jack was shocked. He had thought that Slim was going to come back and ride Dusty. But instead, Slim rode right past him. As he got close to Annie, she took off on Sunset, and the mare galloped after Sunset, and the band of mustangs galloped after the mare. Bang, bang went the guns. Jack snapped the reins. Go, Dusty, he yelled, and Dusty leaped after the mustangs. Jack nearly fell off. He clutched the reins in one hand and the saddle horn in the other. Bang, bang, he heard. The rustlers were on their horses now, and they were getting closer. Hurry, Jack cried. Dusty cleared the rise in an awkward leap, and Jack started to slip off the saddle again. He let go of the reins and tried to hold onto the saddle horn, which is the very top of the saddle. But his weight pulled him down. He closed his eyes, and he felt for the ground. Bang, bang! Oh, man, thought Jack, this is the end. He opened his eyes, and Dusty was looking at him. Jack scrambled and tried to climb back on the saddle, but it was hard without the help of Slim. As Jack struggled, he heard shouts from the rustlers, their horses giving high-pitched neighs, and Jack looked back. A shimmering white figure was moving across the rise, and the rustler horses were panicking and backing away. Jack didn't have time to think about what he was seeing, but he knew it might be his only chance to escape. Using all the strength he had, he pushed himself into the saddle. Go, Dusty, go, he shouted, and Dusty took off in a full gallop over the prairie. Jack held on for dear life as he and the horse split the wind. Chapter 7, which Miss Line will read for you tomorrow, is called Ghost Story. Missing you all a lot. We'll see you soon.